Beneath the stillness of the Kaliningrad frontier, a cold mist clung to the treetops. The Polish defense crews, their eyes glued to radar screens, were unaware that this night would change the course of history. Without warning, Russian Orlan 30 drones and Caliber cruise missiles streaked in, cutting through the darkness, heading straight for Polish fuel depots and ammo parks. This wasn't just a routine test, it was a full-scale assault, one that would set the stage for a high-tech, multi-domain war. But as the first missiles approached, something unexpected happened. A second wave of drones, faster and larger than any intelligence had predicted, descended upon Poland's defenses. This was no longer just an attack. It was a message. Poland's radar screens lit up in red, signaling an immediate response. F-16C fighter jets screamed off the runway, launching into the night. But Russian countermeasures were already at work. Anti-radar chaff filled the sky, and AI-controlled Russian drones shifted their flight patterns, creating confusion in Poland's air defense systems. But the Poles weren't backing down. The roar of F-16s was deafening as they pushed through the chaos, locking onto incoming missiles. Below, on the ground, the roar of artillery filled the air. Leopard 2A5 tanks and Rosomak infantry fighting vehicles rolled out, engaging Russian ground forces in a high-speed battle for survival. Meanwhile, Poland's electronic warfare trucks jammed Russian drone signals, gaining crucial moments to prepare their next strike. The battlefield shifted in the blink of an eye. Poland's Langusta rocket systems unleashed a series of devastating barrages, but Russian air defenses had evolved. The first missile waves were intercepted by drone swarms designed to counter every move. Poland's automated artillery systems responded in kind, but the Russians had one more card to play. Suddenly, a cyber attack hit Poland's networks. Communications were cut off, and key assets were momentarily blinded. Chaos ensued. Yet, in the chaos, Poland found an unlikely ally: NATO forces. In the distance, the rumble of NATO bombers broke the night sky, launching airstrikes that devastated Russian fuel depots, buying Poland the time it needed to regroup. Poland's response was swift, but now it was about more than defense. It was about offense. Stealth drones, nearly invisible to radar, ghosted across the border, sending false signals that confused Russian air defense systems. Russian S-400 batteries wasted precious missiles on decoys, while Polish drones locked onto key radar sites, striking them with precision. In the distance, Russian bombers and interceptors scrambled to respond, but they were too late. Poland's cyber team had cracked the Russian radar code, plunging them into a blind spot. A wave of Polish fighter jets followed, hammering Russian positions with JDAMs and anti-air missiles, reducing key defenses to rubble. As the sky above became a battlefield of drones, missiles, and fighter jets, the true horror of modern warfare unfolded. Russia's once imposing air defenses were now nothing more than a mirage. Polish forces deployed stealthy drones that disrupted every Russian sensor in the air. Above, the F-16C fighters and strike drones methodically dismantled Russia's radar network, while artillery units pinpointed Russian missile launchers, turning their positions into craters. On the ground, Polish tanks and infantry advanced, outflanking Russian positions in a game of cat and mouse. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Polish forces employed a new level of electronic warfare, disabling Russian drones with pinpoint EMP strikes, cutting them off from their command networks. It was a full-spectrum battle, a fight for control not just of the land, but of the electromagnetic spectrum itself. Poland's forces, now operating with robotic mine-laying units and advanced drones, tightened their grip on the battlefield. Russian forces fought back, deploying more drones and missiles, but each counterattack was met with a well-coordinated response. The battlefield had become a web of automated responses, each move anticipated and countered by Poland's technology. The precision of Poland's tactics was undeniable, as they systematically dismantled Russian defenses, one node at a time. But as Poland advanced, Russia adapted, bringing in more sophisticated weapons, including advanced EMPs of their own, which temporarily disabled some of Poland's forces. The digital battlefield was no longer just about machines, it was about control. Poland's robotic forces moved with eerie precision, while Russian forces deployed countermeasures that created an unpredictable, chaotic environment. Yet, Poland's strategy was clear: disorient the Russian forces, break their communication lines, and dismantle their air defenses. As Polish drones targeted key Russian positions, their actions were not only about destruction, they were about sending a message. For every Russian counterattack, Poland had already planned 3 steps ahead. And soon, the tides turned once again. Now, Poland unleashed its final assault. The long-range artillery that had been lying in wait sprang into action, launching coordinated strikes against Russian ammunition depots and missile silos. Russia's supply lines were severed, and its reinforcements could no longer reach the front lines. Polish forces advanced, guided by real-time drone intelligence and laser-guided artillery, while NATO bombers continued their surgical strikes on key Russian positions. The strategic advantage had clearly shifted. Poland was now in control, dominating the battlefield from the ground, the air, and even cyberspace. By now, Poland had sealed its victory. Russian forces, crippled by Poland's relentless precision strikes and sophisticated technologies, began to pull back. The front line, once a chaotic mess of artillery fire and drone strikes, was now quiet, as the Russian retreat grew more desperate. Poland's forces methodically secured key locations, from the fuel depots to the missile launch sites. But the real victory was in the invisible war. Poland's cyber and electronic warfare teams had successfully disabled Russia's communication networks, rendering their forces blind and isolated. Russia had lost its nerve center, and without it, its defense collapsed. As Poland's forces solidified their control over the borderlands, the battlefield became a monument to the future of warfare, one dominated by technology, precision, and control of information. While the remnants of the Russian military regrouped, Poland stood victorious, having not only survived the assault, but turned it into a decisive victory. The world had watched as the future of warfare unfolded in real time, and Poland had proven that in the modern age, the key to victory was not just might, but mastery of the invisible networks that drive war.